AS Applied Maths Statistics, Chapter 5.2 Venn Diagrams. Cannot stress how important it is to understand how to use the different diagrams that are available to you as part of probability. By spending time drawing the correct diagram, you will simplify your question massively. So you should have met Venn diagrams before. We're going to start off by looking at the different parts of the Venn diagram and making sure that you understand what they represent. So basically a Venn diagram is a rectangle with circles inside, and that represents a whole sample space. If you are asked to draw a Venn diagram, you must put the rectangle around the outside to represent the sample space that we're working with, and the whole probability within that rectangle has to add to 1. So in this section, I am looking at Venn diagrams and I'm looking at shading them because that will help me with the probability. If I can highlight the area that the question's looking for, then I can just add up the probabilities that I have put in that region. The A, so event A, is being represented by this circle here, and event B is being represented by this circle here. So we've got A, which is here, and B, which is here. When I am looking at and, so you'll have seen this at school as intersection. In terms of the easiest way to think about it is highlight which bit is represented by A, which bit is represented by B, and we are looking for the overlap, intersection between the two bits. So if I'm working at this, A is there and there. So read each of these sections separately. Okay, so A would take up those two regions. B would take up those two regions, and I want the overlap, so I'm looking for the region that has both the red and the green cross in there, which is this middle section here. So that middle section, the intersection, represents A and B. When we are working with or, so when I'm looking at that word there, I want to consider everything. So what it actually reads as is A or B or both. And it's that or both I think that we sometimes miss. If they wanted it to just be just A or just B, the question would be very clear that that's what it was looking for. So just like I did above, I've got A, which is that section and that section. We have got B, which is that section and that section, and then this time I want to shade in everything that is represented by a cross. So anywhere that I've put a cross, I should be able to shade this in. So by taking your time and just thinking through, well, what does A represent? What does B represent? What does the or represent? You should be able to work this out quite easily. So or is everything, anywhere where I've put a cross, I'm going to include it, and where the cross has overlapped. So that's the difference between those two. If we are looking at this next one, so that dash means not, so we're looking for not B. So anywhere that is not B, so B is this circle here, so not B would be that region and that region. So when I am shading it in, I want to shade in inside the A circle, but stopping when I get to the B circle, because that's where the overlap is for A and B, so that would mean event B has occurred. But then I also want to consider this outside region, because also out here B has not occurred, so we've got that section there to consider. The next one, so I've got and, which is the overlap, and I've got a dash on the A and a dash on a B, so it's not A, so not A is there and there. Not B is there and there, and I am looking for and, so I'm looking for an overlap, and I've got an overlap here where the crosses are on the outside, so not A and not B would be that section there. If I was doing not A or not B, I would have included everything but that middle section. It would be the inverse of this bit, so it would be everything but the middle section if it was an or, because I'd need to include both of the green crosses and both of the red crosses. But when I'm doing and, I want the overlap. So looking at this final one, I want A or not B. So A is that section and that section, not B is that section and that section, and or includes everything that I have put across. So I want the whole of the A circle, so I'm taking all of that, and I want the outside. So that would just leave me with this bit. And when we're doing probabilities, so what we would do is we would add up the different sections. So once I've worked out where the probabilities sit within the different regions, I can just add them up. And it might be that on this question, the easiest thing to do is say, well, it's one takeaway, whatever is in this part here, because that's the only region that I don't want. When I'm doing this question, I would be doing that section, add that section. So for this one, I'd maybe work that section out and take it away from one. For this one, I can add them together. But once you've put all the probabilities into the regions, it's going to make it a little bit easier to calculate those probabilities. Now, there is a website. If you search Venn Paint, it will help you practice this, and I recommend that you do it. And even if you think you understand this type of diagram, which is great, there is a level 2 and a level 3 which goes on to more complicated ones, including Venn diagrams that have 3 circles, so when you've got 3 different events happening, so looking at the intersections and the unions. So in terms of notation, if you are looking at this elsewhere, and would be written A intersection B, so that's that one, and or is A union B. So like I say, we'll do that next year, but when you're looking at different questions and different resources, you might come across it, and you should have seen it at GCSE anyway, so you should be familiar with that notation. So here's example 5.2.2. So we've got all of this information here, and I have got a Venn diagram to fill in. So we're going to label up our Venn diagram. If I let D represent Owen's dogs, we're going to let C represent Owen in a cat, and you should define, if you're using letters in a question that is linked to a concept, then you should be defining what it is that you're doing. I'm going to go for F, obviously, for Owen, a fish. And that just simplifies what you have to write down from that point onwards. So it doesn't matter which of these circles you label up, but we've got dog, we've got cat, and we have got fish. So you read through the information, and remember, we start in the centre. Okay, so when we're filling this in, we have to start in the centre. So reading through this, 25 on a dog, that 25 has to be represented by the whole circle that is for the dogs. So I know that everything in here has to add up to 25. So I can't start there because I need to be able to split the regions up. And similarly, I need everything in this circle to add up to 53, because that's how many cats we have been told about in the question. So I don't want to start there. What I'm going to start with is this bottom one. So we're starting here, because 7 on dogs, cats and fish. So dogs, cats and fish is this middle section here, and I can put 7 into there. Moving up, so I'm going to work this backwards. So we've got 10 on a cat and a fish. So cat and fish is there and there. Cat and fish is just kind of ignoring the red circle for now. So we've got 10 own a cat and a fish, but I've already been told about 7 of them. So because that area has to add up to 10, I know that that region there is 3. And we can build this up by going through each one. So if we look at the next one, so 11 is dog and fish. So dog and fish would be that region and that region. I've got 11, so that has to be 4. And then we've got 15 on dog and cat. So dog and cat is here. We already have 7 of them, so that region there has to be 8. Now you can build up with just the dogs, just the cats, and just the fish. So we know that we need to have 25 dogs in total. So I've got 8, 7, 4. So I know that this section here has to be 6. So that 8, 6, 7 and 4 are adding up to 25. For the cats, I want to have 53, sorry. So it's got to be 8, 7 and 3. So I've already got 18. I want to get to 53. So that has to be 35. And then to finish off, we're looking at fish. And I want 40 fish altogether. I've got 4, 7 and 3. So this region here has to be 26, and it's that circle that would add up to 40. So you should be checking that you've added that up correctly. The final thing to do when doing the Venn diagram is check the numbers that we've got. So if we add up all the parts that we've got within the region, you should find that you have a total of 89. Therefore, the people that don't own a pet at all would be 100, take away 89, and that has to sit in this outside region, which is going to give me a value of 11. And then once we've got that, then this next bit should be quite straightforward, because all we have to do is read the values of our Venn diagram. So owns dog only, so that's this region here where we've got the 6. So owns dog only, it's just going to be that 6. So we've got 6 out of 100. And I can obviously simplify that down to be 3 out of 50. Does not own a fish. So if we were looking at does not own a fish, it would be everything outside the fish circle. So in terms of looking at that, outside the fish circle, we would have this region here, so the 6, the 8, the 35 and the 11. So does not own a fish, we are going for 6, add 8, add 35, add 11 out of 100, which is equal to 60 out of 100, which is 3/5. Does not own dogs, cats or fish, so it's all of them. It would be the overlap because of the or. So does not own any of them is just the outside section, which is just 11 over 100. So once you have got your values in place, it is worth getting a Venn diagram drawn, because it becomes really easy to calculate your probabilities.